Everything changes when the lights go down, right? The second those national broadcast cameras power up, the whole vibe shifts. Welcome to this exclusive explainer on NFL Nexus. Before we unpack the immense, and I mean literally suffocating gravity of what's about to unfold, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment down below on what you think the outcome of this clash is going to be. And hey, if you truly want to dive deep into the gridiron with us every single week, support the channel by becoming a channel member. Okay, let's get into it. This is not just another game on the schedule. We are talking about the ultimate high-stakes crucible. Week 1, Sunday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys against the New York Giants. You're looking at two of the biggest, most intensely scrutinized brands in the history of professional sports colliding head-on in the nation's #1 media market. The air in MetLife Stadium, it's going to be incredibly thick. I mean, it'll be filled with the kind of palpable, heavy tension that can either forge diamonds or completely shatter a franchise's foundation on day one. When you open your season under these incredibly bright lights, against your bitter divisional rival, the narrative of your entire season is basically written in those first 60 minutes of football. It is a cinematic, completely unmissable collision.
The Giants actually officially posted a warning to their own locker room. Just 3 distinct words: Week 1, primetime, home. I want you to read those slowly. Just let the absolute weight of that sink in. There is a suffocating pressure attached to those 3 words. Week 1 means there's no tape. There's no rhythm yet. Every single mistake you make is amplified because it's the very first impression you leave on the world. It sets the temperature for the next 17 weeks. Then you have primetime. That means there are literally no other games happening. Every single TV and every sports bar across the country is tuned to you. The eyes of millions of critical fans, analysts, and legendary alumni are burning holes right into the turf. And home? Well, look, in New York, being at home is a massive double-edged sword. If you dominate, you're a conqueror. You absolutely own the city. But if you fall behind early, man, that home crowd turns into an unforgiving jury in a heartbeat. The spotlight doesn't just illuminate, it burns. And everything this team has done in the quiet, hidden shadows of the offseason is about to be dragged out into that blinding light.
6-1. That is the brutal, unavoidable reality hiding behind that single dash. That is the Dallas Cowboys' recent win-loss record against the New York Giants over an agonizing stretch of games going back to the 2019 span. Now listen, this isn't just a statistic. This is a massive, towering psychological barrier. The Cowboys have come into MetLife Stadium, the Giants' own fortress, and walked out victorious time and time again. They completely dominated the narrative in both 2012 and 2023. For the players sitting in that Giants locker room, the 6-1 record is a heavy, dark cloud that hangs over every single rep in the weight room. It represents an absolute, primal desperation for a culture shift. Because let's be real, you simply cannot claim to be building a new, resilient identity if you continue to be bullied by your biggest rival on your own home turf. You just can't. This number represents the ghosts of the past, the missteps, the blown coverages, the sheer heartbreak. Erasing this number, wiping the slate clean, is the single most important task for the New York Giants as they step onto that field.
So, how do they fix it? Well, that brings us to part 1. Enter the Harbaugh era. How do you eradicate a losing narrative that is so deeply entrenched in a franchise's DNA? You bring in a commander who simply does not tolerate losing. This right here is the key moment where the trajectory of the franchise attempts a violent upward shift. The front office didn't just hire a coach, they imported an entirely new standard of existence. When John Harbaugh walks into a building, the literal temperature changes. Those casual mistakes that maybe got swept under the rug in previous seasons, they are suddenly spotlighted and completely eliminated. He was brought to New York specifically to look at that 6-1 record against Dallas, tear it off the wall, and replace it with a culture of relentless physical accountability. Just look at the resume. 18 NFL seasons, 12 playoff appearances. You do not survive almost 2 decades as a head coach in the National Football League without possessing a terrifying level of strategic brilliance and just an iron will. This resume is a warning shot to the rest of the NFC East, but particularly to the Dallas Cowboys. Harbaugh has survived and thrived in the absolute gauntlet of the AFC North, battling some of the most physical teams in football. And the foundation of all that success? Year-round preparation. Harbaugh's teams don't casually arrive at training camp just to get in shape. No, they arrive ready for war. Every minute detail, from the exact depth of a receiver's route to the hand placement of a defensive lineman, has been meticulously drilled into their minds. He builds armored vehicles, guys, not sports cars.
And here is exactly where the tectonic plates of NFL history are about to collide.
You have the Giants' miserable 1-6 recent run against Dallas, a history of opening day heartbreaks and divisional submission. But that is clashing head-on with John Harbaugh's staggering 12-6 career opening day record. This is what makes this explainer so utterly fascinating. You have a franchise that historically stumbles out of the gate, clashing with a coach who historically dominates the exact moment the gates open. Actually, think about this. During his early tenure in Baltimore, he went 5-1 against his own brutal division right out of the gate. Harbaugh's historic opening day dominance directly attacks the Giants' biggest weakness. He doesn't believe in easing into the season. That's not in his vocabulary. He treats Week 1 like a sudden death playoff game. So this text comparison you're looking at, it isn't just numbers on a screen. It's the visual representation of an unstoppable force meeting an incredibly stubborn historical object. Something has to give on Sunday night.
To truly understand what a John Harbaugh Week 1 feels like from the inside, you have to listen to the soldiers who have actually fought under him. Former veteran quarterback Joe Flacco said, "I think guys show up Week 1 excited and chomping at the bit." Now, you kind of have to read between the lines here. Flacco isn't just saying they're happy to be playing football again. He previously detailed how they endure these incredibly intense off-season programs, grueling, physically taxing training camp practices, and just a relentless volume of reps. By the time Week 1 actually arrives, the players are practically feral. They have been hitting each other, grinding through incredibly demanding tactical sessions for months without any relief. Harbaugh winds his players up so tight during the summer that by the time they finally see an opposing jersey, they are practically exploding onto the field. This quote perfectly illustrates the terrifying day one readiness and sheer intensity Harbaugh instills. The Giants aren't just going to show up to play the Cowboys, they are going to be unleashed.
Which brings us to the next massive storyline, Part 2, a rookie's trial by fire. In a game of this magnitude, the national cameras inevitably find the fresh blood, always. And for this game, that's Colton Hood. Now, he wasn't just drafted to quietly fill a spot on a depth chart. When you are selected with the 37th overall pick out of Tennessee, the expectations placed on your shoulders are remarkably heavy. But when you're a rookie cornerback transitioning from the college ranks into the unforgiving secondary of an NFL defense, and your very first real test is under the blinding lights of Sunday Night Football against Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, I mean, come on. That is not a debut. That is a soldier stepping directly into a primetime war zone. Just watch the terrifying speed of the NFL calendar accelerate for a rookie. Walk through this timeline with me. In April, his life changes forever. He hears his name called, originally a highly valued commodity. Just weeks later, in May, boom, he's thrown into rookie minicamp. He has to completely unlearn his college habits and internalize an entirely new, incredibly complex defensive playbook. He's dealing with a new city, a new terrifying speed of life. He's barely unpacked his bags. And then, September, Sunday Night Football versus Dallas. The acceleration from college standout to defending elite NFL receivers on national television is absolutely whiplash-inducing. He has less than 5 months to completely transform his body, his mind, and his technique before he faces millions of viewers. There is absolutely zero margin for error, no time for gradual, comfortable development. The clock is relentlessly ticking down to that opening kickoff.
But here's the craziest part. Before Colton Hood can even worry about the star on the Cowboys helmets, he has to survive the war inside his own building. He's fighting for reps against Paulson Adebo and Greg Newsome II. These are not practice squad players, folks. These are established, highly talented, battle-tested veteran defensive backs. They have seen the blinding speed of the pro game. They know the nuanced, subtle tricks of NFL receivers. Hood is facing a brutal, uphill battle in the suffocating heat of training camp just to earn the right to see the field on opening night. Every single rep in practice is a high-stakes audition. If he hesitates for a fraction of a second in a one-on-one drill, it's logged by the coaching staff. If he makes a mental error in zone coverage, the veterans capitalize on it instantly and expose him. This is the unseen, gritty drama of the NFL. The national audience, they only see the final polished product on Sunday night. But this battle right here represents the blood, sweat, and intense daily competition that will either forge this rookie into a starter or break him entirely long before the cameras even start rolling.
Now let's shift gears a bit. Part 3, the elite gunner returns.
So we've talked about the mastermind head coach on the headset and the highly drafted rookie stepping into the spotlight. Now let's pivot to the grueling, incredibly quiet, and often lonely shadows of rehabilitation. Because while the rest of the team was out there building chemistry and making headlines, Bryce Ford Wheaton was trapped in the isolated, agonizing world of recovering from a torn Achilles tendon, an injury he suffered in late July of the previous year. Now listen,
That is an injury that has ended careers. It literally strips away your explosiveness, your speed, and your physical confidence. So his journey back to this opening night roster is a story of immense, undeniable grit. This isn't just a guy trying to hang on to a roster spot. This is an athletic marvel trying to reclaim his livelihood for a very specific, incredibly violent role on this football team. So you might be asking, what exactly is an elite gunner? For the casual fan, special teams might just be a time to grab a snack. But right now, in today's NFL, this is a massive tactical advantage. Because of the NFL's new kickoff rules designed to increase returns and fundamentally alter field position dynamics, the special teams phase has been completely weaponized. You need absolute missiles running down the field to blow up blocking schemes and make open field tackles in vast amounts of space. We are elevating his role from a simple, bottom-of-the-roster note to a true, game-changing tactical weapon. A single, dominant tackle by an elite gunner inside the 20-yard line, that can shift the entire momentum of a suffocating divisional game.
I mean, just look at this physical arsenal on the screen. 6'4", 221 pounds, running a 4.38 40-yard dash. This isn't a normal human being. This is a genetic anomaly designed in a lab to play the game of football. When you have a man who is the size of a modern bruising linebacker moving with the blinding speed of a premier wide receiver, you have a physical mismatch that most special teams units simply cannot block. He has long arms, incredible striking power, and he basically operates as a heat-seeking missile on the field. And that final point on the slide, cleared to return from a torn Achilles. The fact that an athlete with these specific, freakish, explosive traits has successfully battled back from an injury that specifically targets your explosiveness, that is a testament to his sheer willpower. He absolutely refused to let his career end in the shadows. He is a dark horse weapon, returning just in time for the biggest war of the year.
286. That is the sheer volume of special team snaps Bryce Ford Wheaton logged over 14 games with the Giants in 2024 before that catastrophic injury took him down. 286 times he lined up, sprinted full speed down the field, and engaged in high-speed, high-impact collisions. That number is undeniable proof of his proven value to this organization. He isn't some developmental project. He is a seasoned veteran of the game's most chaotic, unpredictable phase. Playing under special teams coordinator Michael Gobriel's unit, he proved he could endure the brutal weekly grind and produce at an elite level. In a game against Dallas, where field position will be fought over like inches of brutal trench warfare, having a guy who has survived 286 snaps of pure special teams combat, that is a massive, hidden advantage for the Harbaugh regime.
And that brings all the pieces of the puzzle together for Part 4, the ultimate opening test. So let's look at what we have. We have the arrival of a proven, legendary commander in John Harbaugh, a man determined to violently rewrite a losing culture from the ground up. We have the nerve-wracking, high-stakes trial of a highly drafted rookie corner in Colton Hood, facing elite, veteran weapons on a national stage. And we have the triumphant, gritty return of a special teams missile in Bryce Ford Wheaton. Week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys isn't just about X's and O's. It's about whether these vastly different individuals can unite under immense national pressure to execute a unified, dominant vision. Every single one of them has something massive to prove. And they have to prove it against a team that has historically owned them. This is the ultimate narrative climax that the entire offseason has been building toward. And to survive that primetime test, they are forging a new identity away from the spotlight. They're at training camp right now in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. This is such a classic Harbaugh tactical move. You don't build a tough, hardened football team surrounded by the comfortable distractions of the New York metropolitan area. You just don't. You take them away. You isolate them in the quiet, rugged, mountainous terrain of West Virginia. This is where the real work happens, in absolute secrecy. Far away from the media scrums and the daily noise, they are locking themselves away to hit each other, to internalize the playbook, and to bleed together. This isolation is entirely designed to create a bunker mentality. By the time they finally emerge from the hills of West Virginia and step onto the turf at MetLife Stadium, they intend to be a completely unrecognizable, hardened machine compared to the team that went 1-6 against Dallas in recent years.
And so, after all of that, we are left with one final, lingering question. Will the Harbaugh era begin with a primetime statement? Can this revamped squad, forged in the absolute secrecy and grind of West Virginia, led by a coach who historically dominates opening days, finally break the suffocating Dallas curse? Or will the blinding bright lights of Sunday Night Football prove that the ghosts of the past are simply too heavy to lift? The stage is set. The actors are in place. The entire league is watching. So what do you think will happen? Let us know down in the comments. Thank you for joining me for this deep dive on NFL Nexus. Keep your eyes on the gridiron, and we'll see you for the next explainer.